Whew. Well, that just changed my whole plans right there with what I was going to say. That was some production there. It made my drawings, my sketches, they're really rough sketches, look like Rembrandt's. But that's the way it was back then. And I have to say right away that I'm profoundly honored and humbled at this award, receiving this award. And I thank all of you. I thank all of you. Thanks. I thank AHAC and its sponsors, the attendees, the friends and family. I thank my wife, Jennifer, for putting up with me for 32 years. And I thank my brother, who's here, for listening to me. I spilled my guts when I came home. To only one person, that'd be my brother. And the rest of it I held inside. I shared some with General Hal Moore and Joe Galloway, who was here. And that's it. And now AHAC is starting to chip away at me. And I'm more than willing to tell my story, one soldier at a time. I love this place. AHAC is beautiful. It's got everything here. It's a great organization. These notes, by the way, I have a little note here. This is my wife's idea. She says I usually ramble and get lost. I go astray somewhere, which is true, because I have a lot to say. And there's no easy way to shorten anything I have to say, but I'm going to keep it short anyhow. In Vietnam, I did what I had to do to stay alive. I did what I was trained to do. Fort Benning and AIT, Advanced Infantry Training. I thought I did what I thought was right to do. I did what needed to be done. Combat is comprised of lots of things. Fate, luck, lots of prayer, pain, compassion, horror, heartbreak, and the list goes on. I was just one person in a team of men. I did my part, and all my buddies did the same thing. You've heard it before, all gave some, and unfortunately, some gave all. And we know most of them. My friend Joe Galloway, and my company commander is here somewhere. Captain Tony Nadal, he was in a battle with us also. The great leader, and we followed him like fools. But I might have time to tell you a little story, so I hope I do. But I want to talk about Russ Adams, who was on the gun that day. He was the machine gunner. We traded off every other day because it was heavy, and the heat was 90 degrees. And we liked the damn thing. We liked that M60 machine gun. But Russell had it that day, and I'll make the story short. When the firing started, everybody went straight, and Russell, for some reason, decided to make an oblique left, real sharp left, instead of going into the jungle, and we went towards the mountain. We ended up about 50 yards away from the rest of the guys. And that's where we settled in for, well, the first half hour until he got shot. It was Russell's decision to do that. I think about it, and I think it was fate that made him turn. And fate that kept us alive when people all around us were being shot and killed. But fate would hit Russell within a half an hour. He got shot in the head very seriously. Very serious wound. And I ended up on the machine gun then in the first half of the battle, first half hour. Excuse me, that had me all choked up at that display they put up there, the sketches. I had no idea they were going to do that. But anyhow, I was on a machine gun then. And we were without an ammo bearer that day. We had a 3-man machine gun crew. It was the machine gunner, the assistant that I was, and an ammo bearer. And the ammo bearer had at least 400, 500 rounds of ammunition. But he disappeared when the fighting started immediately. So that left a 2-man team, Russell and I. And we were up here by ourselves, like I said, 50 yards. And we ran into the enemy right away. And Russell was doing a great job. He was taking care of business. And of course, Russell got hit, and I was stuck there by myself. And I spent like the next 2 hours by myself. And I was never so lonely in my life as laying up there and having seen at least a dozen men shot and killed before we got up there. And I actually thought that we were all going to die and that I was the only one left. But things were that we got reinforcements. Somebody came up and took my position. And I went back. I asked the captain that came up, and he said, you're relieved at this position. You go back to your the creek bed. Your company's back there. And that's where my company, the commander, was. And they were fighting for their lives back there. But they had a little cover of a creek. It's about 4 feet deep and about 5 feet wide. But it was a real nice concealment. Because I spent like an hour up there or more laying on the flat ground on my stomach. I was very exposed and taking shots at me constantly, but I survived somehow. But I was happy to get back here to the creek bed and see my good friend, the captain, and a couple other buddies of mine that I knew. And I just settled in, and it was just a beautiful thing. I had this concealment for the first time in 2 hours. 4 feet deep. It was like a big man-made foxhole, but it was a dry creek bed, and all the guys were in there. And I just settled in there, and I'm thinking, this is great. And, I have a chance to live here, and I saw some of my buddies were still alive. I thought, this isn't that bad from what I was enduring. And just as I relaxed, Captain Nadal says, he screams up and down to the right and the left to his men. He says, fix bayonets. And of course, my hair stood up on end. And I look at my machine gun, and I think, this thing doesn't take a bayonet. And they fix bayonets, and Captain Nadal says, follow me. And up out at the creek bed, and he goes out. And we all follow, like we were trained to do. And one little incident when we were out there, we're taking fire, and there's guys bayoneting each other. I see it. And I'm standing there, and what he didn't know is I only had, at this time, about 40 rounds of ammunition hanging out of my machine gun. I had already sprayed the area, doing my job like everybody was doing. And Tony Nadal is just to the right of me about 7, 8 yards. And he screams over at me and he says, lay out some fire out there, fire that machine gun. And I look down and I see that I only have these 30, 40 rounds in there. So I figured to appease him, I'm going to squeeze a couple rounds off. And I did. I fired about 5 shots down there just to keep him happy. And he turns away and he's taking care of business. And he turns away, and then just then his radio operator gets shot and killed. But that's the way it was. And he didn't know I didn't have any ammunition. I'm starting to use that machine gun as a sniper rifle, one shot at a time, because I didn't know how far out we were going to go. And enemy was everywhere. So, of course, his radio operator was killed, and we had to, Tony did, and the rest of these guys, we grabbed the wounded and killed him. We drug him back into the creek bed. And that was one of the most humorous parts, was him not knowing about the ammo that I didn't have. But anyhow, my buddy Russell Adams, he made it home, and he's still wounded today. He's still suffering from his wounds. But Russell and the men who fought at X-Ray, LZ Albany, in the Ia Drang Valley, and the Vietnam War, they were all deserving of this award, this Living Legend Award. And I'm proud of every one of them, every one of the soldiers that fought and those that died. So on behalf of them, I proudly accept this award, and I want them to share in it also. I thank the Army Heritage Center and the supporters here for giving me this great honor, telling the Army story, one soldier at a time. I'd like to share this event this evening with one of the greatest mentors and leaders that I have ever known, and that would be General Hal Moore, a true legend and hero himself. He was our battalion commander then, and we all have respect for everybody. I have respect for Joe Galloway, my captain, Tony Nadal, and every man that fought in there. And I want them to share in this award. So I thank you. Thank you very much. I was very moved by that.